and there is even this mummified creature that people have assumed is a Pukwudgie. Well, hey, howdy, hi! Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining me today. I really do appreciate it. My name is Ellie, and I'm a witch. And this over here is my teaching assistant, Andy, and today is Sunday, and on my channel that means it is Cryptid Countdown, and today I'm going to be talking about New Hampshire. So on my channel, I have 3 different series that I do regularly. On Sundays, I do Cryptid Countdown. On Mondays, I do Misheard History. And then on Tuesdays, I do Tea Time and True Crime. So if any of that interests you, definitely stick around. I have some cool stuff coming out this month, especially. I am excited to talk about New Hampshire. There are definitely some spooky stuff that I'm excited to talk about. So with it getting closer to Christmas, I obviously, I got my red and my green. And I got my flannels. I'm loving this. But I want to do it where, like, closer to Christmas, I get, like, progressively more festive. I mean, he's so set up. It's so cute. And, like, I'm gonna turn on a little fireplace later. But I was gonna wear just, like, this little turtleneck because it's cute. But I didn't have another shawl, and it's literally snowing outside. And I'm not filming this in December, and it feels weird. I moved from Arizona, so I'm used to snow in maybe December if we get any snow. And it is currently Black Friday, and it is actively snowing outside, and so I'm cold. So this is not festive, but the rest of my outfits are gonna be festive. Anyway, not important particularly, but I just want to say, because, like, I want to be festive. Like, it's cute. Anyway, so we're gonna jump into talking about New Hampshire. So, since I'm coming back, last Sunday I talked about a history kind of involved cryptid that was in Oklahoma. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. It's Cryptid Bridge, specifically what I'm talking about. So when I was doing the research for New Hampshire, it was just ironic that New Hampshire has a lot of hauntings, not that many noted cryptids. So I'm going to be going over 3 cryptids, and I'm going to be telling you 2 ghost stories. So the first cryptid that we're going to be talking about is called the Woods Devil or Woods Devils. It's kind of debated as to whether it's one or many. But like I've stated in previous videos, specifically last week, every state has their own version of a Bigfoot creature, and for New Hampshire, that would be the Woods Devil. These creatures specifically live in Coos County woods, and they have been sighted since the 1930s, and they are not particularly like another Bigfoot that you would have encountered. So they are that standard 7 to 9 feet tall. However, these are just rail thin. To the point that they don't need dens, they don't need caves, they don't need these big open or these big enclosed areas to hide. They can literally just stand behind a tree and disappear. Like, you can't see them, and it's crazy. So, along with being able to just stand behind trees to kind of remain hidden, they also can just stay still. Just stalk still, you don't see and you don't notice them until it's you turn around and you hear footsteps running away or something like that. And so you don't generally see these creatures, but it's said that if you ever hear it scream or wail, it will haunt you for the rest of your life because it is just supernatural and just something you have never heard before and never want to hear again. So, like I said, you don't see them that much, so we don't have any evidence, we don't have any pictures, we don't, have any fur or anything kind of like that yet. Perhaps one day somebody will get lucky enough, so I'm just waiting on the evidence of the Woods Devils. So the second cryptid that we're going to be talking about is the Danville Devil Monkey, and this has actually, there have been reports across the United States about giant creatures of different varieties. There was a giant sloth in one of the videos, and now we have, a giant monkey. And so they're more considered like prehistoric animals rather than necessarily cryptids, but I'm calling it a cryptid for the sake of this video. So this creature, this giant monkey, has been noted since about the 1930s. However, it wasn't until 2001 that New Hampshire had reports of these giant monkeys, and they were described as being between 3 to 8 feet tall, having large feet, and then walking on both all fours or on just 2 legs, having a body of thick black hair, and then a very distinct monkey face. So, thankfully, cryptozoologists have been able to confirm that this is not a Bigfoot creature or a chupacabra, which is what a lot of people first assumed it was, but rather its own specific cryptid as well as just its own specific kind of breed of monkey. The first person to actually report it was the fire chief in Danville. However, the reports really started to roll in 2001 following this initial encounter. So people had reported hearing howling that wasn't really human, but not quite like a monkey. They couldn't really place what it was. Animals were getting attacked and just ripped to shreds by clearly powerful teeth and claws, and people were terrified. And then this police chief had that first encounter with it. He actually saw the monkey, and then 2 weeks after that, in those following 2 weeks, there was 9 other reports of sightings, of deaths, of attacks, and children would no longer play outside. Animals were not alone outside anymore. People really looked over their shoulder walking home or just being in town. And so search parties were set up. And you kind of had two different levels of search party. You had the search party that wanted to hurt this creature, get rid of it completely, and then you had the other search parties who were really, really worried because it was starting to get really cold in New Hampshire. And if it was a monkey, it wasn't going to be able to survive in those kind of conditions. So you had the people who wanted to kill it and the people who wanted to save it. However, neither found anything, and this creature just kind of disappeared after those 2 weeks of reports. And it's not known if it moved on or if it actually ended up dying out in the harsh conditions. So I called it a devil monkey, and there's no particular reason as to why it's called a devil monkey. Some people just believe that it's demonic because it isn't like any other monkey species that has been noted that we've been able to study before. Other people just think it's just a strange thing that happened in that town for 2 weeks, and so it's kind of up for interpretation if whether or not you believe it's a prehistoric monkey or maybe it's a demon, I guess, in monkey form. So the final cryptid that I'll talk about before we get to a couple of ghost stories is the Pukwudgie. And these are kind of similar to cryptids that you would find in Europe, specifically the brownies, or they're kind of been likened to the Hawaiian menehune. So like the brownies or the menehune, these are about 2 to 3 feet tall, and they're very human-like, except for the fact that they have very large noses, like exceptionally not large, not just like standard large, but they also have large feet and large ears, and then these aren't really described as harmless as, the menehune or the brownies are. They are very similar, but these come from most notably the Wampanoag tribe, and they believe them to be shapeshifters, able to disappear and reappear at will. They will even take the form of a glowing orb to kind of lure you away from a path or kind of towards a more secluded area. And when they get you alone, they have been known to push people off of cliffs, they've been known to drown people. And once you've been killed by these creatures, your soul is taken and they kind of just collect them. And like most cryptid creatures, this does sound like a story. However, we do have a lot of reports of people being lured by glowing orbs or ending up injured to some degree by these creatures. And there is even this mummified creature that people have assumed is a Pukwudgie. And there's also similar stories from other tribes, so most notably it comes from the Wampanoag tribe. However, you also have stories from the Crow, Shoshone, and Arapaho tribes across the country. So the first ghost story that we're going to talk about is Goody Cole, or as she was actually known, Eunice Cole. She was accused of witchcraft in 1680, and that year was actually not the first time that she had been accused of witchcraft. This was actually the third incident of her being accused. So, specifically, her crimes was that she was accused of killing 2 calves, as well as summoning a cyclone that had killed a ship of people, and this was due to her alleged use of witchcraft. So she had been sent to Ipswich jail, which was in a larger town than where she was from, and while she was at Ipswich jail, there was all these stories going around about her being a shapeshifter and causing all these issues, and even still being able to cause damage when she wasn't even around. Specifically, this is in relation to the idea that she killed a Mrs. Marston's child. And she was actually in jail in another city at the time of this child's funeral. However, there were many reports that a version of her, something that looked just like her, was at the funeral and then at the burial, kind of to taunt everybody. There was also another instance where she was accused of replacing a woman's baby with an imp, to the point that this woman just became absolutely hysterical. She was so convinced that this baby was not hers, to the point that she begged her husband to just put the baby in the fireplace so that Goody Cole would come and take the baby and give her back her real baby. And her husband could do nothing but plead with her, please do not hurt my child, please, like it's our baby. I don't know why you can't see that it is our baby. And he just started praying to God that please let my wife come to her senses, see that this is our child, this is her baby, it's not anything else but her baby. And it wasn't long after that that his wife looked down at this little baby and just realized, oh my God, it's my baby. Like, this isn't an imp. Like, Goody Cole has to be innocent. And she sent her husband immediately in the middle of the night to Ipswich to get Goody Cole out of prison. And when he arrived in the town, it was still pitch black outside. So he is just banging on doors, trying to find somebody who will listen and who can help. And he ends up finding a judge and just pled his case that Goody Cole was not actually bad, that his wife had come to her senses, and that the baby was fine. This, on top of the fact that she was already dying, her health was failing rapidly, the judge did allow Goody Cole to return to her town. And when she went home, she was given a hut to live out the rest of her days, and she did die shortly afterwards. However, after she died, her spirit and her crimes of witchcraft were still being accused of all the travesties that were happening in the area. And it's said that today, if you actually go, I'm not sure if it's Ipswich or the town that she's originally from, but there are ghost stories that say you'll find a woman who is stopping people in the street asking, where's the memorial for Goody Cole? So the last kind of ghost story I'm going to tell you is about the Willie family tragedy. So the Willie family moved to Crawford Notch in New Hampshire to kind of live a life that they had always dreamed of. They had bought this stunning house. It was absolutely gorgeous. The parents moved in with their 5 children, and then they brought along 2 workers. I'm not sure if they were farmhands or more just in-house laborers, butlers kind of thing, but they all kind of moved there. And they wanted this house that tourists would come and see and that would kind of be famous for just like the house in the area. However, because of where they were located, most of what they saw was just other farmers kind of in the area needing a place to stay, kind of passing through. So they just weren't getting this life that they dreamed of. And unfortunately, that would continue. So there was a rainstorm that devastated Crawford Notch, and it terrified the family. It was horrific. And so after this, the father decided that he was going to build a storm shelter, and he made it out of stone, kind of like a bomb shelter, a bunker, if you will, just in case it ever happened again, because he wanted his family to be safe no matter what. Well, a few years later, Crawford Notch got the worst rainstorm to date, and it was awful. And so once the storm had kind of passed, all the neighbors knew that this family was so scared of the rain and the storm that they went to go check on them. And when they got there, they couldn't find anybody. The house itself was completely untouched by the storm. The storm kind of went around them in a way, but the house itself, there was no damage, no water damage, no rain, like weather at all. And so when they went in, it kind of looked as everybody had left in a hurry, like there was still food on the table, clothes were kind of thrown everywhere, like everybody just left in a hurry. And so they went out searching to see maybe they made it to the shelter, and unfortunately, they did not. So when they went to look for anybody, maybe check the shelter, under some rubble, they actually found the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Wiley, 2 of the children, and then the 2 hired help. 3 of the children's bodies were never found, and it's unclear as to whether or not they had gotten swept away, maybe on the way to the shelter, maybe the shelter itself collapsed, but nobody was entirely sure what exactly happened, and so they marked it up as a tragedy. And unfortunately, it wasn't until after their death that their dream finally came true, and tourists now quite frequently go and visit the house and kind of take pictures and just admire the history of it. So yeah, that's kind of all I have for you today. It was kind of interesting. I'm really excited. I love telling ghost stories. I just thought that was super interesting, especially with the witchcraft thing. Like, I know y'all can't read it. It says Town of Salem on this side, but I have my Town of Salem map. I definitely want to go over the history of Salem and kind of like the witch trials and all that kind of stuff eventually. But I think that the history of that's super cool. And again, I love Native American history. I love mythology of any Norse, Greek, Native American. I love all of it. So I love it whenever you can find a cryptid that's related to Native American mythology. So I was super excited to talk about that. But this was a little bit shorter, and I know that. There wasn't a lot to go off of. I didn't want to tell 20 ghost stories because New Hampshire, you're lacking on cryptids. Y'all need some cryptids. So like get on it. But that is all I have for you today. If you ever want to get a hold of me, I always will answer questions through Instagram DMs. I have a Twitter. Or I guess X. It's not Twitter anymore. I'm still gonna call it Twitter though. But yeah. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to say what you liked in the comments, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I love to have conversations with people, especially about this stuff. If you didn't like the video, go ahead and hit that dislike button and tell me what you think I can improve in the comments. I do love some constructive criticism. Please keep it constructive and not cruel. But yeah, I have more videos. Tomorrow I will have a misheard history video coming out, and they're becoming more related to like Santa Claus and Christmas now, so it's going to be super fun. And then I have a true crime episode coming out on Tuesday. It's going to be the Madeline McCann case. It is going to be a little bit longer because that is a very in-depth case that I thought I knew and I knew nothing about. It was so interesting. I really thought that that one was a good one. So yeah, look out for those. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.